Good afternoon, Mr. Adonis.
Good afternoon, Secretary.
How is my sound?
It's loud and clear.
Thank you so very much.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, honorable members, the Deputy Speaker, House Chairpersons, and honorable
Recording in
members
progress.
who are members of the Programming Committee, Mr. Klaso, and all other senior officials of Parliament. You are all welcome to this National Programming Committee meeting, which has been convened to look at the parliamentary program, amongst which the tabling of the budget as we've received the letter from the Minister of Finance. Agenda has been circulated, and I'm sure all members have received it. I would like to know whether there are any apologies, Mr. Klaso, that we've received.
Dr. Kornoff, Madam Speaker, has apologized. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have noted the apology of Mr. Kuranov. Are there any apologies maybe that have not been forwarded to Mr. Klaso?
Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Dagmo.
Thanks very much, Speaker, and greetings to colleagues. I've indicated to Mr. Klaso that I am en route to the airport for a flight to George. And in that context, I think you're aware that we have a convention that the programming whip normally presents the program here, and Mr. Klaso does it at the Chief Whips Forum. But given the situation I'm facing, I have proposed that Mr. Klaso take us through the program when we get to that item. So my apology is that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Are there any apologies?
Honorable Speaker,
Yes, Deputy Chief Whip.
good afternoon, colleagues, and your Honorable Speaker. I have an apology of the Chief Whip who will be joining us a little bit later. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other apologies, I would like us to move to item 2, consideration of the agenda. Members, the agenda has been tabled for you, to all of you, and if I can get the mover of the agenda, if there are no additions to it.
I move, Chair.
Thank you. Any seconder?
I second, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to the consideration of the parliamentary program. Mr. Klaas.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
No sound.
Can you hear me now, honorable members?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was saying that we would like to indicate that the Speaker has received indication from the Minister of Finance that the budget will be presented on the 21st of May. Hence, we are meeting today, as the Speaker had committed that once that information is available, the NAPC would meet. I now wish to present the program for consideration by this committee. So for this week, we are on Wednesday, and we are meeting now, and it's leave period on the 2nd of May. Let's move to next week. Then next week, we have member statements on the 6th, and we have a debate on Freedom Day, united in our resilience to advance social and economic justice and to defend South Africa's democratic order and sovereignty. We'll also have a debate on Workers' Day, leveraging industrialization and trade to realize decent work and social justice. Also consider a report on filling of vacancies on ICASA. And then on the 7th of May, of course, we'll have the Chief Whips Forum. If the colleagues can take me to the main item, questions to Cluster 5, Economics Cluster. And on the 8th, questions to the Deputy President. And on the 9th, it's mini plenaries where we'll be dealing with motions by parties. We would like to appeal the honorable members to the EFF and the IFP and ACDP to provide those topics so that members are able to prepare themselves timeously. So we do not have the topics yet. So by the time the program is sent tonight or on Friday, we would like to have the topics. Then on the 13th, it will be member statements, oversight, visit to Gauteng, and the report on the oversight visit to the Northwest, motions and notices of motion. And then on the 14th is oral questions, cluster 1. Then the 15th of May, there we have the portfolio committee report on defense, on the mid-term strategic review of the South African national defense. And it has been agreed that that will be a debate, not declarations of vote. We'll also consider a petition. And then the next meeting will be on the 20th of May. Again, we'll have member statements and then legislation if available. And we'll also have a report on the Political Funding Act, the funding of political parties. And again, that will be a debate, not just declarations. Then on the 21st of May, we will have the tabling of the budget in a physical venue, which must still be confirmed in terms of which one, but it's going to be in a physical setting. And then there we are expecting the fiscal framework, the Division of Revenue Bill, and the Appropriation Bill, among others, to be tabled. And then on the 22nd of May, we will have debate on Africa Day. And then on the 23rd of May, mini plenaries, there will be considering committee reports, and those reports will be adopted at a subsequent sitting of the NA. Then 27th, questions to the President, and 28th is questions to Cluster 2. And 29th, will be considering the reports I just made reference to. Can you move on, please? 30th of May, member support forum, and then 3rd of June, we will have member statements and motions without notice. And then we have questions to Cluster 3, and 6th of June, members' motions that we will be debating in mini plenaries. And then 10th of June, we'll have debate on Youth Day. And the 11th of June, we will consider the fiscal framework. We do want to indicate, honorable members, that the fiscal framework must be finalized within 16 days in terms of the law. And here, this will be the 15th day. So we have provided enough time or sufficient time to consider the fiscal framework. 12th of June, questions to the Deputy President, and then Youth Parliament on the 13th of June. Let's move to the 26th of June, colleagues. Then on the 26th of June, we will be dealing with the Division of Revenue Bill. Again, we want to state here that as it had been indicated previously, that for budget-related instruments, we would use physical venues for those. So even for that, it will be the case. And from the 27th of June, we will meet, please slow down a bit. 27th of June, we will meet in mini plenaries. Again, here we would like to indicate that there will be mini plenaries at a time. So on the 10 to 12 slot, there will be 2 mini plenaries. We'll be using only 2 venues, Good Hope Chamber and M46. And then the next slot, the 2 o'clock slot, will be another set of mini plenaries when we have for the whole day. another set of mini plenaries, and again, the 4:30 slot, again, another set of mini plenaries. It is to enable even parties with limited members or numbers in terms of members to be able to move between the venues. We now move to the 15th of July. 15th of July, we will be dealing with debate on vote 2 and consideration of reports on budget votes. Now, these are reports of committees as they prepare for budget vote debates. They will table reports. Those reports will then be considered by the House on the 15th of July. No debate on the reports because members would have debated the budget votes. And again, members will still debate the main appropriation bill. And then on the 16th and 17th, it's debate on vote 1, the presidency. And the 17th of July is vote 1 again, reply by the president. And 22nd of July, those are the items. And then 23rd, we deal with the appropriation bill. Again, as I indicated, the issue of venues, it will be a physical venue for that sitting. I may not have mentioned all the members. I may have skipped that one. 12th of June is going to be questions of the Deputy President. Honorable Speaker, that is the program. It was raised. Okay, then we get to the constituency period. That is the constituency period that we're working on at the moment. There were inputs at the Chief Whip's Forum for us to review that so that part of the constituency period could coincide with school holidays. And we are looking at that. And also we have indicated that it could very well happen that committees, the finance committees, either appropriations or the finance, will finish earlier the items that are before them. In the event that does occur, those items will be brought forward. But what we have in front of us here, we are comfortable and confident that it has taken care of the imperatives in terms of timeframes. So the constituency period may be adjusted once we have looked, I indicated the Chief Whip's Forum at all the permutations, and then consult with the Chief Whip's Forum again. So that constituency period could be adjusted. Madam Speaker, that is the report, the program that was discussed at the Chief Whip's Forum this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klaso. Honorable members have been informed by Mr. Klaso that in the Chief Whip's Forum, there was a request that the tabling of the budget as well as the division of revenue and appropriation be held on physical venues. That was occasioned by an earlier decision where the Chief Whip's Forum had met with Public Works and finally agreed, having assessed that the dome needs to be fixed and it may not be ready soon. And there was an agreement on the consideration of the hybrid. But in the Chief Whip's Forum, there has been consultation and agreement that on the tabling of the budgets, different instruments, those must be on the physical session, including their debates. And Mr. Paso will be looking at the possible venues that we will get for that request, which I approve. Members, here is the presentation of the program for your consideration.
Where is the speaker now?
The speaker is here. I've indicated that Honorable Manye will start, followed by Honorable Ghana, followed by Honorable Nolunchungu, followed by Honorable Ntlangwini, followed by Honorable Mkhaliphi, in that order.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Good afternoon to you as well. Yeah, Speaker, in the Chief Whips Forum, this matter was raised and it was responded to, but the response was inadequate. And the issue here is the issue of the mini plenaries that tend to coincide with some of the portfolio committees that have got important work to finish. In the Chief Whips Forum, I made this suggestion, but that suggestion was not addressed, and I want to repeat the suggestion here, that I see no reason why, for instance, there's two groups of plenaries in this session, in this term. The first group of plenaries, as an example, is scheduled to start at 10 to finish at 1, and all that. Now, in that period, there are most likely going to be other portfolio committees doing the overlap. Now, I'm saying we are actually planning for a crisis. Here, as an example, we have a great opportunity to say that the committees that are going to meet on that particular Friday, why can't they start meeting at 8:30, for instance, up until 11:30? And then at 12 o'clock, we have the plenary, the mini plenaries for 12 and maybe 2 o'clock, and all of that. So I'm saying there is space to make that adjustment in the first instance on this particular occasion. Similarly, even on the later occasion where there are already two groups of plenaries, even on that particular Friday, I still see no reason why that we cannot have the earlier meetings of the portfolio committees happening in the morning, call it 8:30 until 10:30 for argument's sake, and then we schedule the two mini plenaries one after the other as already proposed. The issue I have is, why are we planning to do an overlap when we've got an opportunity? It's almost like we want to leave Friday as a drinking day or something. For me, Friday is just like another day that must finish at 5. What is this whole preoccupation of finishing early on Friday? In Parliament, there are just too many gaps. Mondays, there are some so-called constituency days where for other people it's just another leave day. And then all of a sudden we've got, now I hear today that in fact the constituency day is made to coincide with the vacation of the children, the school holidays. So it's clear that we are just trying to maneuver. So I'm saying, Speaker, I think can we take the work of Parliament seriously? And by seriously, it should mean that Friday must be a full productive day, because in fairness, it's only 4 days a week. So it can't now be reduced to 3.5 days a week. That's what it has become now, Speaker. So I really want to push it very strongly that let's not have planned crisis. Let's not have planned overlaps. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Ghana.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the program was...
Honorable Ghana.
Can you hear me, Madam Speaker?
Yes, I can.
All right, thanks very much. I was saying that the program was discussed this morning and received general agreement. So when I raised my hand, I was raising to say that we accept the program and it ought to be implemented for the coming week. One thing that we might have to find time, and it occurred after the meeting, is that the questions to the president for the second quarter has not been programmed, and maybe we might need to find, or the second term, we might need to find a date before we get into the budget votes for the president to answer the questions for the second term. It occurred to me after the meeting this morning. So that's something that we can look at, but we can deliberate on it next week. I think the other issues maybe requires a bit longer time for discussion in terms of the mini plenaries on Fridays. But like I said earlier on, I think technology allows us to multitask, and let's not be afraid to fit in with the technological age that we find ourselves in. Because that's not a speaker. I move for the adoption of the program as presented. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable.
Speaker, I don't know if in your meetings a point of order is allowed here, because I need to raise something, or a point of exigency.
Can you maybe come after the other speakers have made their point?
Okay, sure.
Yes. Honorable Noluchungu.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and greetings to the colleagues. Speaker, I would like to raise my disappointment, in fact, the EFF disappointment, in the manner in which you have handled our request, wherein we were asking you to convene the different political parties so that we can discuss the issue at hand. But instead, you referred us to the programming committee and the Chief Whip Forum. We were expecting at least to give us a platform where we would have been able to discuss the issue. And by the time we get to these two committees, we get there having reached a consensus and avoid a situation where we end up taking each other to court, because the very same process we had followed when we cautioned the Speaker of the illegal adoption of the reports on the 2nd of April. So I would appeal to the Speaker that in future, when such requests are tabled, you allow us, you should have an open door policy where we are able to voice our concerns. And then secondly, a concern was also raised in the manner in which we are steamrolling the budget process. Normally, it takes around about 3 to 4 months to go through the budget process and finalize it. But by the looks of it now, it's going to take just 1 month. And an issue was raised in the Chief Whip Forum that we should have enough time to make sure that we go through this process properly, we have sufficient time, and even to give the interested parties to give input. But looking at it now, it is only going to take 1 month. And finally, I would like to appeal to members and also to voice that it is not fair that when members raise concerns on important matters, they are said to be grandstanding. We are not grandstanding. We are here to make sure that processes are followed. And had we been given a hearing, particularly the EFF, we shouldn't have found ourselves in the current situation. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ntlangwini.
Thank you, Speaker. I think this morning as well that have come out, and I fully agree with my Chief Whip as she have guided us on the process. What was also this morning came out in the meeting, Speaker, is the fact of the cost expenditure to this process that was already twice already failed. So we now know the Treasury have said they have spent 2.4 million on the first process that failed to sit, that was sent back on the budget process. But we also need to take in account for Parliament as to how much did it cost Parliament for both attempts, one, for the budget to have been sent back, when it was that increased the huge amount of 2% VAT increase. Then secondly, as well, when it came back yet again, that process yet again. Then thirdly, the process when the report was adopted and it had to be taken to court. Now, we constantly say to you, Speaker, and we have said it in even in the plenary when this matter was raised, that we have sent you a letter, we have warned you about the processes that was flawed in the committee and that was wrong in the committee. And you continue to push with a flawed and wrong process, and it needed the court to reverse that. So there must be some financial accountability from you personally, because you should safeguard the processes of Parliament and ensure that processes in committees are done fairly and correctly. So if we don't have a recourse from your office, our next recourse will be the courts. And we don't want to go forever to the courts as members of Parliament if we are having a disagreement with you. Start having your office open, have proper engagement with political parties so that we can address the issues that of concern as members of Parliament that we are facing within this portfolio committees that just want to steamroll another process. We are warning you yet again, Speaker. The budget process needs to be properly consulted, proper public consultation and participation needs to happen. And if we were to see as the EFF, those processes is not happening, we will not be, as we have stand again before, not be part and parcel of a budget process that was just steamrolled and rushed off and must be adopted because of the sake of adopting. And people can call us that we are grandstanding. We were the political party that have first and foremost wrote to your office and said to you there was a flawed process. Secondly, we were the first party that have said we will take this process to court. So for people to say that we are grandstanding and we just want to grandstand and all of that, with this 9% that we are having as the EFF, we are gladly to grandstand for South African citizens so that South African citizens may have a right and a voice within Parliament. And the right things must be done. So we are pleading with you, let this process be run properly, no rush. Let the process be addressed. And even that finance portfolio chairperson must take some full accountability as well. We need to know the costs of all of these processes that was just sent back. Some people must take accountability. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you,
Thank
Speaker.
you, Honorable Mkhaliphi.
Speaker, thanks very much. I thought, Speaker, you were going to tell us, instead of saying that there was a letter that was received from the minister, because this minister have already put us in a shame as the South Africans. I thought you were going to tell us that that minister have resigned. Speaker, I just want to concur with my colleagues, especially on the issue of this matter that we are also dealing with now, because this is a special meeting. Ordinarily, the programming committee will sit on Tuesday, on Thursday, because tomorrow is a holiday. So therefore, you call this meeting to deal with this matter. We had a chiefs forum this morning, and then we dealt with some of the issues, but some of the issues were not clarified, speakers. For instance, there's a court case, there's a court decision. Speaker must pay 50% of the legal cost of the EFF and the minister and everyone. So therefore, Speaker, can you clarify to the nation, are you going to pay that 50% from your own pocket? Because you can't take the money, the people's money, from the people who are also struggling to have ends meet and then pay for the thing that we raised with you, as the colleagues are telling us that, reminding us, in fact, that we have written to you on the eve of one night to say the processes that were followed from the committee level were flawed. So therefore, it also back to a second question, who is advising you? Who's advising Parliament? Because we are in this embarrassment as Parliament because someone is advising you, is giving you a legal advice. So who is that person? Because we can't afford as a way forward to have been embarrassed on this issue again and again. That's why I'm saying that that minister is supposed to have resigned. The last time this thing happened in one of the countries in Britain, the minister resigned. So now, therefore, the Parliament is the last hope of people of South Africa. So as a head of institution, Speaker,
You must be a listening speaker. If the members of parliament, you must also protect the members of parliament to say, MPs, they have spoken, they've written to me, let me just listen for a while. But I know very well that there is a person who is advising you from parliament who is ill advising you. That's why now you have an egg on your face, and then as a result, the institution is compromised. So can you clarify to us, are you going to pay from your pocket? And all other stakeholders who have been ordered by the court, they are going to pay from their own pocket? Because we must be clear here, Guti, parliament must not take the money from the people to pay for your own illegal flawed speaker. And so therefore we can also advise, we must get a senior counsel to come and advise. There's nothing wrong to get a second opinion in terms of legal advice. So even if yesterday the chair of the committee wanted also to continue where he left it off, following the ill processes, until as the EFF we advise, don't get a meeting, you must follow the proper procedures. Speaker, when Babu Khaso was presenting a program here, he's saying that in terms of the law, 16 days will be observed in terms of the time frame. So therefore, are you going to advise the committee to ensure that the public hearing is happening? It must not even happen on virtual, because now we are told that load shedding is coming back. That's why we also said during the Chiefs Forum, we don't want those things of virtual. One, this is not a small matter. You can't just go and take a decision, as it was reported before, that this meeting is going to take place in a good hope and it's a virtual. So there's a second thing, there's a second problem that is existing in the country, the issue of load shedding. So now we want to know if this thing of the load shedding, the parliament is aware of it, and then all other debates must be physical, and then we must take into confidence the parliament that is protecting the poorest of the poor and also protecting also the MPs, because all MPs have raised this issue. We must not hide behind the previous decision to say we are going to use the dome. Instead of the dome, we are going to use the hybrid. We never agreed to that as EFF. It was not a decision. We have also said no. The issue of the dome, as we were also told, the dome is ready. If the dome is not ready, let us got another alternative venue which all MPs is going to be housed. So there was no decision. EFF rejected, we put on record, we are still putting on record. And some of the members tried to bully us, to tell us there's a rule that allows virtual to take place. It was during the COVID, when the country was on standstill. Now the country is open. We can't go back to use the virtual platform. Let us go back, and the parliament, if is a listening parliament, we've been saying from the word go, Speaker, that let us plan and have a way forward on how all MPs go and have a meeting under one roof. It's because we don't want to listen. So it's high time now. As things stands, there's no budget. People are confused. They don't know what will happen. And then now we must be told that we must not be grandstanding. We must be grandstanding because we are protecting the voiceless. And now, Speaker, we are appealing to you. Listen to members of parliament when they raise issues of concern. Thank you very much, Speaker. So let me just land.
Thank you, Honorable Dlagude.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to welcome the presentation of the program by Mr. Khaso, and also the issue of having the tabling of the budget in a physical meeting where all of us will be part of. Honorable Speaker, I just want to indicate that Fridays to some of us are normal working days. We have committees that are sitting on Fridays, of which some of us sit in those committees. And those committees have the same privileges as other committees that are sitting on any other days, like your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So it cannot be that those committees can meet for 2 hours, then they must adjourn. So it is a norm that in Parliament, there would be committees which are sitting and processing some work while other activities are taking place. Like, for example, Sometimes we'll have a sitting, a normal sitting, even before our parliament went up on smoke. We would have a physical sitting in the chamber while other committees have applied and have been approved to sit and process the work that they are seized with as committees. So it will not be for the first time that when we have committees sitting on Fridays, then they would be mini plenaries. But in many times, the programming whip together with the NA table make sure that they try their level best that whenever there are mini plenaries sitting, then there would be no committee sitting if those committees are not having planned meetings for those Fridays. So I will pass, Honorable Speaker. Then the other issue is that of passing the fiscal framework, the fiscal framework that we passed on I think it was when was it? Yeah, the fiscal framework that we passed. So with regard to that, the understanding when passing the fiscal framework was that the Minister of Finance will go and look into other instruments that can be used, where to cut and where to adjust in order for the budget to be divided instead of us having VAT. That was the understanding with the parties that supported it. And from that process, it was settled out of court. There was no court order that was given. It was settled out of court that there will be no VAT. So what we are welcoming as the ANC in this process is that as long as the time frames that are constitutionally set for the budget to be passed are as long as those time frames are adhered to, then that is what we are expecting all of us to adhere to follow the necessary processes of the passing of the budget so that this country cannot be held at ransom of failing to pass the budget. Our aim, our focus is for all processes to be followed, legal processes to be followed in passing the budget. That is our plea with our colleagues. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. House Chairperson Frolic.
No, thank you, Honorable Speaker, and good afternoon to the colleagues that are on the platform. Honorable Speaker, may I firstly start with the matter as it was raised this morning also in the Chief Whip's Forum around committee meetings on a Friday. The committee meetings on the Friday is on one of the 3 days that has been set aside for portfolio, select, as well as joint committees to meet. This is not a space for only the National Assembly, but for joint committees involving the NCOP as well. Some of these joint committees even go beyond 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Madam Speaker, because they only have that day where they can do their work. I also indicated previously, Madam Speaker, that what is important is to note that the mini plenaries on a Friday was derived from the fact that parties had to discuss the motions that they table. It was never the intention to prevent or to stop or to alter the committee time for committees, because we were mindful that not all members of Parliament are part of those meetings taking place on a Friday, and that's why the mini plenaries was viable. Also, these mini plenaries are for debating purposes only, where no decisions are taken. As far as sittings of the House is concerned, we safeguard that process and we regulate that process where there's applications for committee meetings. And if it happens, the chief whips of political parties, through the secretariat of the chief whips forum, is informed that a certain committee or committees have been granted approval. But this is largely to deal with matters such as legislation or the conclusion of urgent appointments that need to be done. And I would ask that this practice and convention that has been established over the past few years be observed, but we will under no circumstances just allow a carte blanche for committees to meet during sittings of the House or to meet during mini plenaries. But Fridays is a committee day for committees to meet. Parliament's program can get quite busy, and we try as far as possible to strike a balance in accommodating the different interests and the different needs to have time on the parliamentary program. A lot of the Friday meetings, in fact, are not happening virtually. A lot of these meetings take place physically in Cape Town. And we do know the situation in Cape Town when it comes to early morning meetings for MPs to get on time to Parliament. And to say that they must be there at 8:30 in the morning, quite frankly, Madam Speaker, under the current traffic conditions in the city of Cape Town is not logistically viable. And that's why they have the starting time of 10 o'clock in the morning. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I now want to turn to some of the comments that was made around the court process. Yes, there were two political parties involved in that process, and there has been a hearing of the court that took place, and there's an order from the court now. Now, to expect the Speaker, while a judicial decision is pending, to intervene in the process and to interact with some of those entities, some of those political parties who have brought action and sought relief from the court could be quite frankly, Madam Speaker, for the lack of a better word, say that interfering in a pending judicial decision. The court pronounced that a certain decision will be forthcoming on a certain day, and they have done that before that date.
Speaker, can we call a point of order, please?
Oh, Madam Speaker, may I just complete what I'm saying? I respectfully listen to all the other members. And this is my view.
Honorable Nhlangwini, I've noted you want to make an intervention, but can we allow Honorable Frolik like we've allowed everybody else?
So there was a judicial
And I'm in the queue.
A judicial decision that was pending, Madam Speaker, and you had to take your legal advice and to use then the legal advice at your disposal to come to the decisions that you made. Then lastly, Madam Speaker, as far as the court order that has been granted, there's no personal cost order that has been issued to any of the parties that were involved in the matter. And as such, a request to say that the Speaker in a personal capacity must pay the costs is not part of that court order, Madam Speaker, and it falls outside of the ambit of the relief that was sought by the parties in court. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker,
Yes,
I was still holding on.
I know, Honorable Manya, you are the first,
Okay.
followed by Honorable Nhlangwini. It's just that somebody who's controlling the system, I was trying to unmute myself and it was difficult.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. A couple of points. The first point was this issue of technology that one member is advising us how to use technology. Now, Speaker, if two meetings are starting at 10 o'clock, the only time that technology can be used is purely corruption, where you have your gadget on and you are in another meeting with your gadget on another meeting. And it would be a shame that a member of parliament will, in this kind of forum, agitate for such a corrupt practice and so on. So I think that member must desist from promoting corruption. If there's corruption that people do in their parties, they must not bring corruption in parliament. You can't have two meetings at the same time and rely on gadgets, except if you're doing a corrupt practice. So that must not be allowed. That's the first point. The second point, Chair, maybe to the point that Honorable Lagude is using, I would like to know that perhaps the Office of the Speaker can just remind us as to which prescripts are going to be followed to shrink the time, because the reason you have 4 months when things are run properly. There's a reason for that. But if the 4 months is now going to be crunched to 1 month, we would like to know what prescripts are being relied on to do all of those shortcuts, as it were, so that we don't have a situation where even the process leading to the tabling of the budget is also challenged to be an unlawful process. So can we just avoid head-on collision in court and be favored with prescripts that allow for this condensing of this period? Then the last point, Chair, I think, the point, sometimes one gets confused how this meeting gets run, where we have what we call a chief whips forum, and we say that is a closed forum. And then people bring things of the closed forum into the open forum. So I just don't know now when to stop, because some of the issues that are raised here now on this open forum are supposedly closed forum issues, but they are allowed, so I don't know when to stop. The point here is that one of the issues that for us as MK Party we had raised is exactly this one, Speaker, of a personal cost. And what we said in there was that the reason we are raising this sharply is that this is not just being malicious or anything. It's a situation here where we have a speaker that was favored with a well-argued, well-considered advice by different parties to say this process is all unlawful and all of that. Then the speaker just flatly just dismissed these things. And not only that, even at plenary, points were made to continue to indicate this thing, that this whole process is flawed, this process is unlawful. And the speaker just steamed ahead to do this. Not only that, in the plenary itself, I was actually not sure what was happening when the voting was happening. The speaker even voted with the party that was raising this thing. So then you begin to say, Kanti, where are we here? What kind of impartiality is being exercised here? If the speaker herself is going to say, well, after all is said and done, I'm the member of the ANC and therefore I'm going to vote with the ANC. I see, Chair Speaker, I'm now nervous, even with the motion that we have raised, that what will be the attitude of the Speaker, because as the MK Party, we've raised a motion against an ANC minister. Will the Speaker take the same attitude that he has taken in processing the well-considered submissions and try to come with all kinds of technicalities to now try and find a manner in which to defend this motion from being tabled in Parliament and so on, because we have tabled this motion in Parliament for it to be debated. We sit here as the MK Party now, who are very nervous that if the posture of the Speaker, as illustrated during that budget process, if it's the same kind of posture, then it means we're going to have another situation where to exercise our rights, we now have to keep going to courts and all of that. And we don't want to make threats as Speaker, but we'd like to be assured that the Speaker must continue to act in an impartial manner, as it were. And up to now, the Speaker has given tangible evidence of being not partial, of not being impartial by voting for this mess that we're in. The Speaker has physically voted for this mess. And this is why for us as MK Party, we think there's merit in saying, now that the court have vindicated the posture of all of those that said this process is unlawful, and the Speaker had to have exercised her own independent mind and so on. And it doesn't look like the Speaker had done this. So it could be argued that the Speaker did not act in line with the prescripts of the law, in line with the spirit and the letter of the Constitution and the letter of the appointment of the Speaker. So therefore, a case can be made that the Speaker must bear the cost personally. So I just needed to just reach that point, Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable Changwini.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Unfortunately, Speaker, this will go down into your legacy, and that in your legacy, that when you were the Speaker of Parliament, the budget process did not pass. And that is quite unfortunate. That will be part of your legacy. But I want to raise a point of correction to Mr. Frolik, and I thought maybe perhaps that coming from Mr. Frolik, that is always so clued up on many of these issues, you would have known that we have sent you a letter on the 1st of April, before this the fiscal framework was even passed. We sent you a letter to state to you that the process is flawed, and we wanted to have a certain engagement with you, but we were not given that opportunity as political parties. Now, for him to say you were going to interfere with court processes and all of that, that was our recourse, because we had a speaker that didn't want to listen to members of parliament. That to say that in the committee process where we were seated, the committee didn't follow due processes for the report to be passed. Henceforth, you need to intervene as the speaker of this institution, and you didn't do that. So what should we do next? The next is to go to court. So quite frankly, I'm really disappointed that Mr. Frolik would say that you will be interfering with a court process, because that wouldn't have been even in court. So I'm glad, even in that said, having that said that even people that have said that this court process is a circus, it's people of grandstanding, but now the very same people are using the very same court processes as a reference to what we have fought and flawed, and said that the committee process is flawed. So all we are asking from you, Speaker, as the leader of this institution, let's have a consultative process. Let's have an open door policy process, so that we don't have these kind of embarrassments that will go down as your legacy of the Speaker of the National Assembly. Quite frankly, the 7th Parliament have become a laughing stock because of your leadership. The 7th Parliament have become a parliament of one of the most weakest parliaments that have been existed in the domes of parliament because of your leadership. So I'm just pleading, bring parliament back, bring the integrity of parliament back to its former glory. Thank you.
Honorable Dagmo.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I just want to raise a couple of points. Firstly, I want to strongly indicate that the comments made about the Speaker's integrity and legacy are literally those of certain parties who clearly have grandstanded during this process, compared to the 11 parties that voted very clearly for the fiscal framework and then spent the next 4 weeks finding a solution which eventually led to the withdrawal of VAT, and alternative proposals have been proposed. And clearly, the party that's raising this issue, the EFF and the DA and the Minister in Parliament, were parties to an agreement which was then made an order of court. So how can you agree and then want to come now and say that certain costs, 50% and so on, should be that of the person? That wasn't the decision of the parties themselves, including the EFF. And it was actually quite constructive, I thought, that the parties to this application, which had every right to go to court, made an agreement which actually allows us to move forward. We're in a new situation in this country. The exciting thing is the possibility of Parliament actually, and fully realizing that we as Parliament have the is actually something I know is going to. I personally was present at the public hearings where over 30 organizations came to the Finance Committee and made proposals. And as we go, once the minister has tabled the framework and the other budget instruments, there's a huge opportunity for Parliament to exercise its role, probably historically for the first time, in terms of looking at whether there should be amendments and so on. And let's make that particular process work. And the last comment I want to make, we really shouldn't ignore decisions which have been made by the Chief Whips Forum and the Programming Committee, where the principle, given the problems with the dome, and we know the ministry is coming, I think next week, that we have hybrid sessions unless there needs to be a vote. Those decisions have been taken. We have noted the objections of two of the parties, but everyone else supported that particular approach. On the one hand, you have parties like the EFF and MKP raising the issue of costs. But how much does it cost for every session of Parliament to be held at the Convention Centre or the City Hall? So we mustn't come and be hypocrites here. This is a way that we can do the work of Parliament, get different members involved, and that is why I think those parties must understand why the public believes that they are grandstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I would really ask that the remaining hands try and summarize so that we can move from this topic and we can go to the next agenda items. Honorable Sueya.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good afternoon to yourself and all honorable
Honorable Sueya, can you
members
it's a bit
on the platform.
problematic.
I only have got one, not one. The first one is that I am requesting.
Yes,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Apologies about that. I'm requesting that the programming committee, if we can promptly finalize the question of the president answering questions in the second quarter as indicated, because I realize that it's missing on the program, unless if I missed it because I keep being kicked out of the platform. The second one is we've received a request from the executive in terms of next week. They are holding their cabinet committee meetings in Pretoria, and they're requesting for hybrid setting of committees so that they can be able to participate in the portfolio in the portfolio committees, because their cabinet committees are physical in Pretoria next week. The last one is just to appeal to really all of us entrusted by South Africans from different political parties to say, yes, we are where we are. It's not an ideal situation in terms of where we wanted to be. But if the programming committee and the Secretary of Parliament and the leadership of Parliament are going to come to us and say, we've looked into the program, for us to be able to reach where ideally we're supposed to be, these are the suggestions. It will not really assist us to want to, and I want to repeat it, to grandstand in terms of opposing and not giving a solution. It would come across as if we don't want the budget to pass. We want a consequence of things that happened in Britain. And I think we've got an opportunity that if we're given an opportunity to say, yes, you can be able to do this, we can't necessarily have physical because there's financial constraints and venue constraints. If it's not illegal, why don't we want to be flexible so that we can be able to do what society has elected us to do, and that is to pass budget, oversee the executive, pass laws, and be able to lead and build a better South Africa. And from the other comments, even from the morning when I was listening from the Chiefs Whips Forum,
network is a bit difficult.
We don't want to find a solution.
Honorable Sueya, your network is not good.
That everything really needs to fail.
Honorable Sueya, your network is a bit difficult.
I don't think that's the posture that we need to have.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Kalipi.
Speaker, this is the very reason why you are saying.
3 points, Speaker. Thank you.
Speaker, that is the very own reason why you are saying as EFF we can't agree on hybrid. Now we can't hear the member here because we are connecting here.
It's fine, Speaker. Those were my points. I've got a network problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
So We can't allow the parliament to continue with hybrid because we can't do our work. As now we are meeting speaker through this platform, we are struggling to hear the member who wants to tell us how to move forward. So that's why, Speaker, we are saying let us not continue with hybrid, especially on this important matter of the budget. So I'm very happy that we have agreed that the budget on the 21st of May, it will happen physically. So therefore, all other important matters must happen physically. The matters of parliament must happen physically. Speaker, I agree with you. But at the same time, I think as a speaker, as the head of the institution, you must also call a press briefing and also take South Africans into confidence about this matter, because definitely, Speaker, also, you'll agree with me, this is not a small thing that happened. So as we speak now, we don't have a budget. As we speak now, South Africans are panicking. As we speak, people, they don't know what is the role of parliament. Now, even the, Honorable Tembi is saying that cabinet are asking us to hold meeting in virtual because they'll be in cabinet. We are an institution that is ensuring that the executive is accountable to this institution. We can't be told by the cabinet how to run the affairs of parliament. That's why we are saying to the speaker, as a head of this institution, please take the nation into confidence, especially on this matter of the budget, because there's a confusion and people have lost hope. Others, they're asking us as member of parliament, what is the program going forward? At least it has been outlined, but the issue of the time frame, as other members was alluding to that fact, we are not even sure if the time frame is going to allow the public also to contribute on the public hearings as it's supposed to be, because there's a huge interest on this issue now. So therefore, Speaker, I don't know why we were also told that there is no order of court. There was an agreement amongst parties and the court have issued orders. Now, as we stand, the court order is there. Bullet 7 stipulated very clear that the speaker must pay 50% of EFF court orders. There is an order of the court. So therefore, that's why we are saying, if this issue was handled very well by the speaker when we wrote a letter, firstly, we could have avoided all these things that we are finding ourselves in. So therefore, we are asking you, Speaker, please be a speaker that is listening to the members of parliament, be a speaker that loves the nation, call all political parties, just sit down with them, and then said, we are in this problem. What is your contribution as a way forward as party leaders? I don't think Speaker is enough to say Chiefs Forum will deal with the matter. Political parties, they must also meet with you as the head of institution in order for people to about parliament. Right now, people, they think we're the one thing with the executive because there's no difference between us and the executive. As we're sitting here, we're told that the executive can't come to parliament because they have another important matters to do. No, parliament must put their foot down to say, we're the independent institution. We are here to do our work. Members of the executive will come and answer session physically. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Zawuda.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the program as presented by Mr. Klaso, we support it as is. Ours is to make sure that Parliament works as members of Parliament. Let's reserve political issues, not for these meetings, not for this programming. This is a programming committee of Parliament. Political issues, we can raise them somewhere else, but not in the programming committee. So for us, is to align ourselves and make ourselves available to do the work as presented, as per the processes presented by Mr. Klaso. The attack on the speaker and all those things that members are raising here, we had them in the Chief Whips Forum. We didn't want to say anything here, Honorable Speaker. Others even said that if it calls for the dissolution of Parliament, that must happen because the elections were rigged and they were robbed of their votes. We didn't want to talk about that here because those things do not belong here, but it's what we've been hearing. And by listening to everything that is being canvassed here, you could see that maybe there is something somewhere where members want to hold Parliament at ransom not to pass the budget. The process has been unfolded, has been presented by Mr. Xaso according to the legal prescripts of this country, that the budget must be passed on the 31st of July. So let's align ourselves to those and make sure that we work hard, even if it means knocking off midnight. It's fine. We are ready for that, to do the job so that we can pass the budget. There are people who are benefiting from the budget of this country. So we want those people not to suffer because of our own political grandstanding. We cannot allow that. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, can I really ask us to close the session? This was a programming meeting to reflect on the program. I see two hands again. Can I appeal to those colleagues that I don't allow them back because they've already made their points, so that I can respond to some of the issues and conclude the meeting? Honorable Manye, can we agree that way?
Yeah, it's okay, Speaker, but the only issue is that if other people that speak cast aspersions on some of us that have spoken before, then it's a problem. So we appeal to the Speaker that going forward, if somebody is saying something that is likely to invoke a reaction or another that is just negative, that the Speaker must intervene at that point. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. And I take note of the issues that have been raised and some of those that need clarity. Just to indicate that in respect of the program and the president coming to this on the second term to answer a question that is on the 27th of May, it is provided for in the program, so that if maybe members didn't see it, but it is there. There's an issue that has been raised about how the adjustments can be made on a Friday where there are mini plenaries and where there are proposed budget debates. I would actually say if there are any discussions, maybe the Chief Whip's Forum must look at whether there is a possibility of making those adjustments as has been requested. Remembers in terms of the budget instruments and how they are dealt with, it is within the Money Bills Act that prescribes the timelines as to when, how much time in terms of the fiscal framework, which the committee must reflect and then come back to the House. The division of revenue, it's also in the money bills, which prescribe that it must be 35 days. So I do think that all of us as members, we understand those timelines as provided by the Money Bills Act. As well as when is the outer date, when is the total budget supposed to be approved? So working on the program, this is what the NA table looks at, working with the NCOP, as we know that actually the budget is dealt with by both houses. So it's important that there is consultation between the two houses on those budgets so that we do meet the timelines as prescribed. It's not about steamrolling, but it's about the processes that must be followed in accordance to the legislation. Honorable members, I don't want to get on the issues of the legacy of the speaker and how other people reflect on the leadership of the speaker, because I don't think in a forum such as this, the speaker must defend herself. and it is the views of members as to how they reflect on those matters. So, with due respect, I wouldn't want to get on those matters, even though they've been ventilated in this platform. Secondly, I do want to say the processes, and as I wrote and responded to members who wrote letters, I made those responses because from the briefing I received on what had happened, I strongly believed that processes were followed. And I do want to say that, unfortunately, because of the announcements that came later with respect to the minister and the withdrawal of the instruments, not only about the VAT, but also about the appropriation and division of revenue, as I had written to the members and informed them. It was clear that the fiscal framework, as having been adopted, is not going to be relevant anymore. Because, as you know, the money bill says there must be alignment on all these instruments. So if two of those are already withdrawn, it effectively meant the minister will come back and present a new budget. It's for that reason when the legal representatives of the parties that were in court were convened by the judges to say, given the new developments, what are the parties saying? And I'm raising this without wanting to enter the other sphere, which is the judiciary. There was never a ventilation by the court on our processes. The court said there are these new developments, you parties go and discuss what is the best way forward. And in response, Parliament in its affidavit indicated that it believes that the processes that was undertaken was correct. The approval was correct. Yes, there will be people who will raise their objection and as they express themselves in Parliament through the vote. However, given the new developments from where Parliament sits, whatever the decision that was taken cannot be proceeded with because there's a new budget. And it is why, with the legal teams of all parties, there was that agreement which was then made a court order. And I think it's important that that clarity is made because no judgment was given by the judges to say, because you did this or you didn't do this, we find this null and void or, not in line and so on. So the court never ventured in that. So I just want to leave it at that so that we do not go back into it. And I think the best would be the judges, maybe, that's fear, if we may want to know why they felt the parties need to engage each other. But that's where the matters are. Honorable Member Mkhaliphi says the issue is important. Parliament should speak. We decided as Parliament, apart from the press statement, that until we are clear about the dates, we cannot have a press conference just, to say this matter is important without applying our minds as to how Parliament from now on is going to deal with this process. So it wasn't because Parliament didn't feel the issue was not important. That's why it didn't speak or never had a press conference. Secondly, on the issues of the responses to the parties, I really wouldn't think it is important that I discuss my responses. Because when parties write to me, they write to me as a speaker, and I respond to them with respect. I don't take what I've discussed with parties in their written communication to me or even in the conversation, and then I go and speak about it outside. Because it's about respecting the parties and their communication which they raise with the speaker. In the course of those responses, parties still feel strongly. I would expect the parties to come back to the speaker. So for me, when I respond to the parties, it's not about politicking. It's because I've applied myself, I've taken into consideration that the concerns that parties are raising are worth reflecting on and respond to them accordingly. And I will continue with that process. But I think it is important not only for myself, but for the institution to respect the parties and their communication to the institution, because it would not be nice if Parliament, in its communication with the parties, will go outside and say, yes, we responded to them, we said this and this. And I don't think that builds in any way. So I take note of the issues reflected upon and will continue to engage and communicate going forward. I now want us to go to the next agenda item, which is maybe just to say that with respect to the issue of major events, as we've said, when the team briefed me after the Chief Whips Forum this morning, we agreed that for the tabling of the budget instruments, all of them, we will endeavor to make sure that we hire a venue for that to happen. But I will ask the Chief Whips again, if there is a change of view that you want to engage in all other meetings to become virtual, because that was a decision that was taken after the Chief Whips indeed have had an engagement with Public Works in respect of the dome. They indicated that there were two parties that still felt we needed to continue to have physical meetings. So it's not like that report was not given. I do think that if parties, for whatever reason, they now feel strongly that, for all the businesses of the National Assembly, that must be done, not in hybrid, but every member being there, also look at what are the financial implications for that. I do think that the Chiefs Forum can continue to consult and then advise the Speaker accordingly. Thank you very much, Honorable. Oh, maybe just last thing. Honorable Manye, you spoke about Monday. Mondays had been discussed by parties and agreed that that would be a constituency day. Friday remains a working day. And I don't think as members we can actually say that is not. It is. I think it's the discipline of all of us to make sure that if there's work that must be done, it is done. Whether it's a Friday, that must be done. Even on Mondays, there had been committees acknowledging that it's a constituency day who have actually even asked their members to meet on Mondays where there is necessity to do so. With respect to the school calendar, that is not what Parliament decided. It was a request from members to say, in the consideration of programs, do look at whether there can be some alignment with school holidays where possible. So it's not a decision of Parliament, but it has always been a request from parties to say there must be some consideration that members do have an opportunity to spend time with their children, and therefore constituency and leave periods must be looked into to also make some alignment. So I just want to clarify that so that it is not as if Parliament takes those decisions, but it is listening to you as members and the concerns you are raising with us. Colleagues, can we now move on the issue? There was a mover of the program and there was a seconder. Can I now move us to the next item, which deals with the consideration of minutes of the meeting of the 24th of April? And I take it that those minutes have been read and we're not going to go through them. I can just ask if there are any corrections on those minutes that members would like to make. I do not see anyone. Can I get the mover for the adoption of the minutes as the correct record?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I move for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of the deliberations that took place. Thanks.
Can I get a second? Colleagues, those who were in the meeting of the programming.
I second,
Any-
Madam Speaker.
Seconded,
Member
Speaker.
Gami.
Thank you very much for that. Can we now move to the matters arising? Mr. Klaas?
Madam Speaker, there are two matters. The one has to do with the budget, which has been canvassed officially. And the second one had to do with the National Assembly Amendment Bill. And basically there we are saying that the matter is now ripe for referral, and we'll just coordinate with the NPOP to just check exactly when, because the idea is that it must, not the idea, but the law requires that within 30 days it must be finalized. But we want to coordinate our activities with the NCOP because it affects both columns. And then the next one has to do with the dome. The Minister of Public Works will be appearing before the Chief Whips Forum next week to update on the dome and also the issue of accommodation for staff in the villages. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Those are the three issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, there are the matters arising and how they've been dealt with by the committee. Anybody who would like to make a comment on those? There is no one. This now brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you very much, honorable members. Happy Workers' Day tomorrow to all of you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable
Thank you,
Speaker.
Speaker. Thank you, Honorable
meeting
Speaker.
is
The
closed.
Workers' Day tomorrow, Mangi.
Record.